Like you hear of people, who's going to go 1, you know, who's going to go 10, but you just can't predict it.
He's our son and if it doesn't happen, well, there's other things he can do.
I'd like to move into state, it'll be good. Anywhere will be fine. Starting fresh sort of thing.
A lot of people say that I might be number 1, but I just, again, just don't really worry about it. I just like, let's go to him, sure. I don't think about it that much at all. Like I don't go to sleep at night time thinking that I'm going to be number 1 or anything. I just go to bed.
Got a pretty slim chance. Can't really do anything more to help my chances of getting drafted this year, but if I don't get drafted, you just got to work on the things that I should have done earlier in the year.
Port Adelaide's second pick's 37. So if Port Adelaide has, if they do have some feel for this Corey Enright, we try and do a dummy draft, as we call it, to at least the end of the 3rd round.
Tall, so they'll be taking the next best, wouldn't they?
It's like studying for an exam, I suppose. It's giving you all the information you need to go to the draft day the next day, so that when a surprise happens, you don't panic, because you can't freeze on draft day.
Yeah. Sexton's back screwed, isn't it?
Have you got Brendan Fevola down for anyone? No.
Not much likelihood of any of those players coming through to us, is there?
So is there any of these guys here, Dragicevic, Jacatine, Ramanauskas, Morgan, Laddams, Fevola, that we're screaming saying someone should have taken them? The other one is, I wouldn't think so.
Hang on, Brendan.
Have you come? How
So I don't know where they are. So you can go down there, drop the balls, get them back.
Hey, Desi. Up in the warm climate, eh? Up in Brisbane.
This is the most important of them. I would have been doing that with him too.
This year, some 1,780 players put their names down and nominated for the draft. Today, up to only 91 will find a new football home. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of conjecture about the number 1 pick. Who will it be? But there's also been a lot of discussion about some of the high-profile history players.
Hey, Alan, it's not the aerial there.
Round 1, selection number 1, Brisbane Lions.
Player 4195, Des Headland.
Des Headland for Subiaco, despite injury problems, did extremely well.
He is the right size at 180 centimetres. That's 6 foot in the old language, and I'm certain Brisbane have picked up a future AFL star.
And a player with a real touch of class, a touch perhaps of Robbie Flower, a touch of Gary Lyon about it.
Easy, Mum. How loud do you want it?
The one with the Brisbane Lions. The obvious question, how do you feel?
Would have been nice to stay in Perth, but you know, Brisbane's a good club. Just take it out as it comes now.
From Subiaco, they've had a lot of very, very good players.
I think he will manage. I think he'll cope.
Go and take a couple of really deep breaths and have a chat with your family. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
Des Headland is the number 1 pick in this year's draft.
Oh, well, who's that?
Big move.
Hi, thanks. I am, yeah. Just a minute, John. Yeah, I am.
Now let's continue with round 1 to selection number 2. Here once again is Wayne Jackson.
Selection number 2, Fremantle.
Player 4183, Justin.
Selection number 3, Sydney Football Club.
Player 3969, registration number 3426.
Selection number 6, Carlton.
Player 4070,
Selection number 12, Essendon.
3485, Adam Ramanauskas Brendan.
Essendon, what a club to go to!
Yeah, so we all pack it up here.
We're just so happy.
Oh, Jesus.
Back flanker. Marking is quite superb. The way he floats across the pack to take marks with great courage above his head.
Good on you, honey! You made Melbourne! And you was in... They picked the top 20 in the paper and they were all wrong. You was 12th pick. Oh, good on you.
That's an effing beauty, isn't it? Don't get it going. That's right. That's right.
Number 16, Adelaide Football Club.
Player 3913.
Selection number 18, Fremantle Football Club.
Round 2.
Player 3970, Daniel Shell.
Selection number 19.
When we went to Brisbane, we figured you would sort of come up virtually when you shortly. And when the boys spoke to you about like the travelling up, we've been sort of when?
Football Club.
Nick Davis, New South Wales.
Selection 28.
Michael Colligan,
Sydney.
East Fremantle.
25.
Heath James, Port Adelaide. Player 4015,
St Kilda.
3939, Stephen Baker, Geelong.
Brendan still hasn't gone yet. Come on.
Brendan, poor Brendan, if he goes in the study, he's inside himself.
He's still sitting there. It hasn't been selected yet. Yeah, he's still sitting there.
39, Heath James, Port Adelaide.
Selection 33. Selection 36. Essendon.
Player 3625, Craig White,
Danny Jacobs,
Sydney 5. Collingwood.
It's a pretty traumatic day. You've got to make sure you have your wits about you and be able to give the coach the sort of the right feedback.
Well, that's why I didn't want to go make a fool of myself and bring it up and say.
You've got to be ready to sort of change direction a bit. There's an odd spur of the moment selection, I suppose.
Carlton.
Player 4144, Brendan Fevola, Dandenong Stingrays.
Another 17-year-old, and that's the leading marking forward at 188 centimetres is a terrific size.
He's got a terrific technique. He very rarely misses for goal.
I'm surprised he's still there so late. A great choice for Carlton.
Where do we go?
Brisbane. It was pretty far away from Perth, that end of the country. It's the furthest place to go if you had to get drafted.
And ring me, okay?
Right.
Most important.
Do some.
See you, DJ.
I think he will manage. I think he'll cope.
There, wave now.
Alright.
You get a code of this boys here.
When's he start? I remember him, John gassed him, whatever. It was... Remember him? Remember him, John gassed him?
Des, who you
How you going, mate?
Des Headland.
Des.
Des Headland.
Des.
Des.
How, mate? Des, how you going? Des. How you going?
Things, eh?
Yeah, alright.
The other DJ, mate. The three of them. What have you said something done?
Yeah, just shin operations.
Shit, both done this?
No, just the left one.
That's the city and over there's the gateway.
Alright, yeah.
Okay. You'll get to know all that in the next 3 weeks and half the day.
Scott Russell is back in the headlines, rankling the AFL by stating that he does not want to be drafted by an interstate club. Russell said that at this stage of his career, he didn't want to move away from home and hoped Sydney...
At the end of the day, you're aware that you've nominated. And the form says quite clearly that once you nominate, you're prepared to play for the club that drafts you.
MCG hosts a different kind of game this afternoon as the coin is tossed for the pre-season draft.
Is he? He's got a shoulder on actually. That's why one of the reasons we created the rookie list was to try and pinch the star athletes from other codes.
Before the picks could get underway though, the AFL felt compelled to read Scott Russell the riot act following his recent comments in the media.
And we have received back from his agent to advise that the client is aware of the draft laws. And
overlooked by the first 7 clubs, finally the Sydney Swans called Russell's bluff by selecting his name after he initially indicated he wouldn't go.
Obviously his first choice was the Bulldogs. He'd been training there, but we certainly had no concerns of what he said in the press.
I played my joker and got wiped off the table.
No one took that. So who's finished their career?
Scott Russell's close friend and former Magpie teammate Tony Francis is also out of purgatory with the help of the Saints. Tim Watson.
The clubs know it's a game.
How long it took? 8 minutes.
You do it our way, you don't do it at all. And if there's a draft process with the young kids, understandably they haven't paid their dues to the game and they're more subject to whichever teams pick them up. But I think there should be a level of service which you've given to the sport, whether it's 8 years, 6 years. You've done a lot of time at a club. You should have some sort of choice of where you're going to go. Cool. I should get this bike and tools and sprint about.
And don't get your hair too short.
Lee Matthews has taken delivery of his latest acquisition and struggles to contain his high hopes for the kid from WA.
Player will Des fitted the bill, I thought.
Des Headland, last year's #1 draft pick, is expected to bolster a seriously depleted Brisbane lineup that has been plagued by injury. Ironically, Headland himself is just recovering from a shin operation and is suffering from knee soreness.
When I first started running around again, after my shin, my knees and everything else started getting a bit sore because I haven't used those muscles for a while as well. I was at the physio just about every day for my first 8 weeks because I wasn't strong enough, and that's what caused all my injuries probably, was just because I was unstable. For Christmas and that I wasn't training at all and I just felt a bit homesick more.
If you get a first pick, you drop to the bottom, get that consolation prize of the first pick, well then you're hoping the guy you pick is going to be a good player for you for a decade. We're hoping that Des is going to be a state of origin level player. I mean, that's the level I guess he has been as a teenager.
It's easy when you're on the field, but like when you do it for training, it's different. They all call each other brothers, you know, so which is good. And just settling well with them. It's great, a great bunch of blokes.
Maybe longer.
It still would be good to see your family like every day, and it's like a really good relationship. And
as you'd expect here for what should be a glamour clash between the Bombers and the It's Easter and the big spider. This match has so many. Francis playing his 150th game, Tony Francis. Ramanauskas playing his first game tonight.
Kept your feet. There's a classic case of you keeping your feet and getting the kick.
Straight down his throat.
Turn on. Now, you know, that could be enough to drop you. But you should have that by now. I keep looking at that and saying, look, I probably didn't get in front there and I should have attacked it then instead of being too negative. So there's a lot of different ways you've got to look at it, okay?
Well, that was the thing I was just most disappointed with. I couldn't spell. I felt like I was trying to keep it way too hard because of the wind.
Confidence. How do you get it and can you keep it? What do you think of your performance out of 100?
55 maybe?
55?
Maybe 50.
How do you measure a game? Quite often by who you play on. If you've got a player that you don't hide them, put them on a good player. I'd say that Adam at the moment will be fairly flat. He's been dropped. Generally I write a letter to the players and say, well, this is where I think you're at.
He said it didn't help a few of my teammates in the defensive end of the field. And he said towards the end of it, don't waste your opportunity. Not many kids of your age get this chance, so...
I'd say if Adam missed making it, yeah, at second draft choice, we let go Rick Ollerenshaw, who's a premiership player and a 70-game player. We would be disappointed. We probably think we might have swapped Adam for Rick Ollerenshaw.
I think the draft's sort of the easy part, if you sort of understand what I mean. Once I got to Essendon, the hard work really started.
What about Des Headland, your number one draft pick? You going to play him?
No, we have to just pick the side. Well, we don't have to know the side, of course, until tomorrow night, but we just will pick the side on the basis that we are where we are tonight. Which 22 they are, we might not know for another day.
Desi probably thinks he's out of the picture, but, geez, you know, you just don't know what's around the corner, and all Desi can do is come out on the track as he did tonight and train very well. And who knows, you just don't know what's around the corner. A little bit behind the 8 ball when he got here. What's that? I think it's taken a few bad experiences with recurring injuries for Desi to find out what's required. Happy with that, Mark?
There isn't a lot of time for players to grow up in the AFL market, and perhaps to this point in time, that naivety and perhaps, if you like, immaturity from Des hasn't helped him cope well with the demands of AFL football and the expectations of being the number one draft pick.
How'd you go? Give him a chance?
See, find out tonight.
Tonight or tomorrow?
Tonight, I'll ring back tonight.
Yeah? Hope you get in there.
Desi is very close to his family, and because he was still having some complications with his leg and wasn't able to train, it was felt that it would be beneficial for Des if the family could relocate. In retrospect now, sometimes you wonder whether or not a player would grow up more quickly if his family wasn't around him. And there might be some off-field pressures with Des feeling a sense of responsibility to repay his family in a way for them all relocating, and there's no match payments for playing reserve. So it is important for a player on a contract such as Desi's to be trying to play senior footy on a regular basis. Perhaps he does feel some extra burden there, being seen to be the breadwinner perhaps of the family. Hello?
Des is not an elite AFL player yet. He's an elite teenager who was drafted last November.
With any draft pick that you have, you really hope that they're going to make it. One for the player, and I suppose selfishly for yourself a little bit.
Get to know each other. Where you going? You know where Williams is coming down this outside.
I hate running. Like if he could play football and not run, it'd be good.
I mean, he can run, but I think sometimes he gets a bit tired, more in the head, rather than really being tired.
Hit it!
I still have control of Brendan, but they also have control too. So they sort of he has to answer to me as well as them.
You know, when something happens around the place, your first person you think about it could be Brendan in the trouble. He's had his little moments, I suppose, since he's been here where we've had to pull him into line.
Taking shortcuts, trying to dodge the work. If you've got a bit of a record of not being a hard worker, then you want to set it straight now so that people here believe that you are committed, because a little chink like that, unfortunately, gets into everybody's heads. Selectors' heads, the coaches' heads, you know, the staff are looking after you, and they start to do that, then they pigeonhole you. But even though you are getting better and you really are working hard, they've always got this little thing in the back of their minds.
David Parkin's fantastic at I think, reading players and knowing, you know, whether it's fake or it's not, and whether they've really got the hunger to make it. You've got to be able to get through the inverted commas, the bullshit, and decide whether the player actually has the hunger to make it at AFL level.
58, but that was wrong. I'll come in behind Humie. I'll come in just before Silvani.
You don't take it for granted and just blow it all away. This is it. It's make it or don't make it. It's the ones who think, oh, I'm here for 10 years, who don't make it.
Des Headland, the boy from Western Australia, will make his debut today.
It's taken a while to get in the side. How's he been going?
He's had a little bit of quad muscle problem, so we hope he's ready to go, and he's showed a fair bit of goal-kicking flair.
A big bomb deep in the forward line. Malloy was a high flyer at ground level. Black does well. Gives it across to Headland. It is his first game of AFL football. He's kicked a goal. Fantastic. And what a start to his AFL career. His first kick, and he's popped it through. And Sue's on the bench for Sydney.
McPherson, Bolton, then Scotty Russell.
When you're young, you think you can play this game forever.
Does he keep it in? No.
I think a player knows when they, on some level, that they're not right, they're not 100% fit to play. Your body knows when it's had enough or it needs a rest, and mentally you know when it's time as well.
During the game, when you get hit, you get back up and start running. I reckon if you go into a game thinking that you're going to get injured, you'll probably end up turning injured.
Chips too much.
Obviously the medical staff have got an obligation to the player, but also they've got an obligation to the club who pays their salaries to keep their players on the field.